I walked into our hotel room early, flowers in one hand, her favorite chocolates in the other. We were celebrating our anniversary. I thought I'd surprise her, but she beat me to it. I saw it with my own eyes, my wife, lying in our bed, tangled up with the janitor from the lobby. The man I tipped 2 hours earlier. She didn't flinch. She didn't even cover herself. She smiled. I checked in that morning by myself. Katie was still at work and planned to join me that evening. It was our third wedding anniversary. I'd spent the last 2 months saving for the hotel suite on the 42nd floor, overlooking the bay. She always said she wanted to fall asleep above the clouds. I wanted to give her that. I got the keys, dropped off the luggage, then headed out to get her favorite chocolates from the boutique downtown. They imported them from Belgium. She'd always said they tasted like silence after a storm. I even booked a massage for her that evening and left the voucher on the nightstand next to a handwritten card. I returned around 5:30. The hallway smelled like lilies. I remember that because it hit me before I reached the door. I thought maybe they'd left flowers in the room by mistake. I pushed the door open, and the smell wasn't lilies. It was sweat. I heard the laugh before I saw anything. A deep, raspy laugh. Not hers. I walked into the suite. There they were. Katie, my wife, naked, laughing on her back, her legs wrapped around a man I recognized immediately, the hotel janitor. He was still wearing his blue jumpsuit with Carl stitched across the chest. She turned her head and saw me. And she didn't scream. She didn't cover herself. She smiled. "Oh," she said, casually. "You're early." Carl jumped up, grabbing his shirt, mumbling something I couldn't even register. But she didn't move. Just propped herself up on one elbow, watching me. I couldn't speak. My mouth was dry, and the flowers in my hand were starting to shake. "Relax," she said. "It's not that serious. Not that serious. I just walked in on my wife in bed with a janitor. In the suite I paid for. On the anniversary I planned." And she said it like I'd walked in on her brushing her teeth. Carl mumbled something about leaving and stumbled toward the bathroom. She didn't even look at him. "I was going to tell you," she said. "But you're so soft. I didn't want to break your little heart." She sat up, still unclothed, as if she were in her own dressing room. "You really didn't see it, huh? All those late nights? All those business trips?" My heart pounded in my ears. "You always believed me. You actually trusted me." She laughed, low and cruel. "You're adorable." That's when I realized. She didn't just cheat. She enjoyed knowing I didn't see it coming. I left the flowers on the floor and walked out. But that wasn't the end. That was the beginning. I didn't go far. I took the elevator to the lobby and sat in one of those overpriced velvet chairs next to the fake fireplace. My hands were shaking. I still had the chocolate box in my pocket, crushed now. The concierge passed by twice and asked if I needed help. I nodded both times but didn't answer. Katie didn't call. Didn't text. Nothing. I sat there for maybe 30 minutes before I went back up. Not to talk. Just to get my stuff. She opened the door before I could knock. Fully dressed now, hair up, like nothing had happened. "You left your charger," she said flatly, holding it out like a waitress with a receipt. I didn't take it. I couldn't. "Why am?" I finally asked. My voice cracked halfway through it. She tilted her head. "Carl? He's real. He doesn't sit around writing apology notes when I'm in a bad mood. He smells like bleach and steel. You? You smell like caution." I blinked. "You're mocking me." She leaned against the doorway. "I'm educating you. You still think loyalty means something. It doesn't. Not when there's no risk. You wouldn't leave me if I burned your apartment down." That hit hard. Because she wasn't wrong. Even after seeing what I saw, I still had a twisted instinct to fix it. To understand. To salvage something. "Did you ever love me?" She laughed. "You make it sound like love is a contract. I like the way you looked at me. Like I was more than I actually am. That's power." She tossed the charger at my chest. I barely caught it. "And the best part," she added, "you'd still take me back." I swallowed hard. "Wouldn't you?" she said, stepping closer. "If I cried right now, said I messed up, said I missed you, you'd open the door." I looked away. She was right. And we both knew it. "I'm not even mad at you," she said softly. "I pity you. You walked in on your wife sleeping with a janitor and still came back for your things like a polite little guest." She smiled again. "But this one wasn't cruel, it was surgical. You're not a man. You're a waiting room." I left without saying a word. My heart had already shattered. No need to let my dignity follow. But as I walked into the elevator and watched the doors close, something started forming in my chest. Not anger. Not grief. Something colder. Sharper. She wanted to see how far I could fall. Now she was going to see how high I could climb, with her name in my fist. I still looked pathetic. But I wasn't going to stay that way. Not for long. The next day, I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I sat in my one-bedroom apartment, now eerily quiet since she'd moved most of her things out weeks ago, trying to remember how to function. I kept going back to the way she looked at me. Not like I was a fool. That would have been easier. She looked at me like I was beneath her. Disposable. I played her words in my head on repeat. You're not a man. You're a waiting room. I didn't even know what that meant at first. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. She didn't cheat because I was boring. She cheated because I never fought for anything, not even myself. She didn't just disrespect me. She bet everything on the idea that I'd do nothing. And she was almost right. But something had shifted. I pulled my laptop out and started a blank document. Titled it, What She Took. I listed everything she left behind when she humiliated me. 1. Time. For years I'd never get back. 2. Money. Nearly $8,200 I spent covering her debt. 3. Trust. Shattered. 4. Confidence. Buried. 5. Reputation. Fragile, but still mine. And then I wrote another list. One called, What I Still Have. 1. Her signature on our shared lease. 2. Copies of her resume I'd helped revise. 3. Access to her calendar. She never changed the password. 4. Screenshots of her messages to me pretending to be too busy at work. 5. My name on every bill she never paid a dime toward. It wasn't a weapon yet, but it was kindling. I spent the next 2 days laying low. No calls. No social media. Just research. I found out Carl had been fired once before, 3 years ago, for inappropriate use of employee spaces. He got rehired through a contractor loophole. Technically, he wasn't a hotel employee. He was a vendor. That mattered. I also knew Katie had applied for a marketing job at a local property management firm, one that required references. I'd helped her write the cover letter. I still had the file. She listed me as her emergency contact. So I made another list. Phase 1. Gather financial records. Pull calendar data. Screenshot all shared messages from our old cloud account. Get legal advice, quietly, on shared lease boundaries. Begin digital footprint trace of Carl. His social media, any public reviews, mentions, etc. I wasn't planning anything criminal. I was planning something far worse. Professional annihilation. I wasn't going to yell or smash things or send threats. I was going to let the world see what she'd done. And then I was going to remove every handrail she thought she had. She mocked me for being too gentle. She should have prayed I stayed that way. Because the man she thought she broke? He was about to teach her the cost of underestimating someone who has nothing left to lose. She didn't notice I was watching her again. Not in person. That phase was over. I was watching through the digital back doors she never closed. Her shared calendar, synced to our old cloud. Her new job interviews, dentist appointments, even a wellness brunch with someone named Alex. She never changed her settings. She never thought I would look. Because she thought I was weak. She was wrong. The first thing I did was cancel the massage I booked for her on our anniversary. They charged a same-day fee. Full amount. No refund. I called in anonymously and used the gift code I paid for. Someone else probably got it. That was fine. What mattered was she didn't. Then I went after her rent. I contacted our landlord and let him know Katie had been living in the suite under both our names, but had never paid a single month of rent. I showed him receipts, every transfer, every bank statement. He was surprised. Not at her. At me. You were paying the whole thing? He asked. Even when she was working? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He asked if I wanted to be removed from the lease. I told him no. I asked him to send a formal rent audit to both of us, dated the day after her new job was set to begin. He agreed. Said it was long overdue. Then I waited. 2 days later, she got the email. I know, because I saw her calendar change, a new item appeared. Emergency call with leasing office. She texted me an hour later. Katie, did you seriously talk to the landlord? I didn't respond. Katie, that's low. Even for you. Even for me. The same me who walked in on her with a janitor in our bed. The same me who still couldn't hear the word anniversary without flinching. She still thought I wouldn't fight back. So I kept going. I created an anonymous Gmail account and sent her new job's HR team a polite, well-written message with an attachment labeled Character Considerations for Future Team Member. Inside were screenshots from her deleted texts, her calling her previous employer a joke, bragging about using the office Wi-Fi for personal fun, and a message about how she could sell garbage to a sanitation worker if she smiled right. That line? Not ironic. She literally sold herself to a sanitation worker. I didn't get a reply from HR, of course. They wouldn't be that careless. But 2 days later, her calendar cleared. No job start date. No wellness brunch. Just a 3-hour block that said, "Fix this." She texted me again that night. "Katie, whatever you're doing, stop. Please." Still no apology. No ownership. Just panic. She was slipping. And this time, I wasn't going to catch her. I was the one letting go. Katie started pushing back. I expected fear or retreat. What I got instead was a sharp pivot, like someone flipping a chessboard mid-game and saying, "Now we're playing something else." She filed a noise complaint with the building manager, claimed I was slamming doors and yelling at night, said she felt unsafe. I got a warning email. The landlord said if it happened again, they'd open an investigation and possibly involve the police. I hadn't raised my voice once, but that didn't matter. She was planting seeds, laying a trail. The next morning, I got an email from her new email address, a fake Gmail with my name in the subject. She sent it to my boss, claimed I'd been mentally unstable since the breakup and was using work time to harass her. Attached was a blurry photo of me, taken months ago, sitting at my desk, doing nothing. But the caption underneath said, "This is when he accessed my messages." It didn't even make sense, but it didn't have to, because now I was the one defending myself. My manager pulled me into a private Zoom call. He didn't accuse me of anything, but he asked if everything was okay at home and whether I needed time off. I knew what that meant. They were watching me now. I was officially a liability. Katie had flipped the script. I went from the quiet guy who got cheated on to the ex-boyfriend with behavioral concerns. I tried to stay calm, tried to breathe through it, but it felt like the walls were shifting under my feet. She wasn't just winning, she was rewriting the whole game. That night, I saw something on her calendar that stopped me cold. Dinner with Carl. I clicked the event. She'd even written a note, make him feel needed, confirm details for the new place. She was moving in with him. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not angry, just hollow. She wasn't just cruel. She was strategic. She didn't want to hurt me by accident. She wanted to beat me, publicly. So I did the one thing she never saw coming. I disappeared. No more emails. No texts. No activity online. I stopped logging into the shared calendar. Stopped tracking. Stopped everything. Because while she thought she was building a future, I was digging. And soon, I was going to hit something she'd buried years ago, something that could bring it all down in a single blow. I disappeared from her radar, but not from the plan. I just made her think I gave up. While she was moving in with Carl, I was sitting in the county clerk's archive room with a laptop and a cheap thermos full of gas station coffee, digging through the one thread she never thought I'd pull, her past. Katie once told me she'd never had anything serious before me. I believed her. Of course I did. I always believed her. But people who brag about not hiding skeletons? They usually just learned how to lock the closet better. That's how I found it. A civil case from 4 years ago. Name matched. Date of birth matched. Filed by the parents of a 15-year-old girl named Sarah. Accusing Caitlin S. Morton, Katie, of emotional manipulation, harassment, and abuse of power during a volunteer youth program. Katie was the program lead back then. The girl ended up hospitalized. There was no conviction. The case was dropped after a private settlement. But I found traces, discussion threads, redacted court docs, even an old blog post from a user calling herself Heartbroken Mom 85, describing a charismatic female mentor who pushed my daughter to the edge for fun. It was her. I collected everything. Screenshots, PDFs, archive links. I organized it into a single document, 47 pages long, titled it Caitlin_mask.pdf. It wasn't a weapon. It was a time bomb. That night, I made one anonymous email account, and I sent that file to 4 places. 1. The HR department of her new job, the one she thought I knew nothing about. 2. A nonprofit foundation where she'd applied to be a youth ambassador. 3. Carl, through his public city contractor email. 4. Her mother. The email was short. Before you place your trust in Caitlin Morton, you deserve to know who she was, and who she still might be. No threats. No accusations. Just the truth. The next day, Katie's Instagram disappeared. The day after that, The nonprofit announced a change in their selection process and quietly removed her name from their finalist page. Then, silence. No calls. No texts. I didn't even hear about Carl's reaction, but I didn't need to. The last calendar update I ever saw from her account said, "Damage control. Urgent." I could have stopped there, but she had laughed at me, called me harmless, disposable. I had more, and I wasn't done. I thought I'd delivered the final blow. I thought she'd crawl away and stay gone. But Katie wasn't done. 3 days after I sent the file, I got a letter slid under my apartment door. No postage, no return address. Just a thick envelope. Inside was a cease and desist from a law office I'd never heard of, clearly local, clearly cheap. They accused me of defamation, cyberstalking, harassment, malicious dissemination of misleading private information. They never denied the documents were real, but they said I had weaponized sensitive materials with intent to cause reputational harm. They framed it as emotional abuse, said I had a pattern of obsessive behavior, digital overreach, and personal vendettas. The language wasn't hers. Katie wasn't that formal, but the intent, that was all her. Then I got the call. My employer's HR department. They'd received a complaint. Anonymous, but with documents attached. Screenshots of emails I'd written months ago, edited, cropped, twisted. One showed a line I never wrote, talking about making her pay. It wasn't my voice, but it was enough. I was placed on leave, pending internal review. She'd done it. She flipped the entire situation. I had exposed her past, but she was rewriting my present. And she wasn't stopping there. Someone reported my apartment for noise complaints. Twice. Said they heard yelling and threatening language. One night, a police cruiser parked outside for almost an hour. Never knocked. Just sat there, watching. She was building a paper trail. She wasn't just playing defense anymore. She was laying bricks for a future lawsuit, or worse, a restraining order. One more accusation, one more misunderstanding, and suddenly I'd be the unstable ex. The villain. The worst part? It was working. Friends started pulling back. One of my closest buddies texted me, asking if everything was okay between us. He didn't say why, but I knew. She was getting ahead of the story, controlling the narrative. Meanwhile, I was stuck in my apartment, suspended from work, watching my name slowly erode under the weight of false impressions. I had gone too hard, too fast. And now she had sympathy on her side. For the first time, I started to doubt myself. Maybe I had pushed it too far. Maybe digging into her past made me look desperate. But just as I was beginning to unravel, I found something. Something buried deep in a cloud backup folder from a shared account we forgot to shut down. It had no title, just a random mix of numbers and letters. I clicked it, and there it was. A video, a voice, a confession. Not meant for me, not meant for anyone, but real, and enough to flip this entire war again. I wasn't done yet, not even close. ChatGPT. Part 8. I took the lead again, with one file. I must have watched the video 10 times before I even breathed. It was her, alone, talking into her phone in what looked like a hotel room. No makeup, no filters. Just Katie, sitting on the edge of a bed in a t-shirt, barefoot, holding a glass of wine. I don't even feel bad about it, she said. He's boring. He worships me. I could do anything and he'd still say sorry. She laughed. I picked Carl because it's hilarious. I wanted to see if he'd break. But he didn't. He just stood there like a kicked puppy. I paused the video. My hand was shaking, but not with rage. With something worse, certainty. She hadn't cheated because she was lonely or hurt. She did it to feel powerful. And now I had her saying it. On camera. In her own voice. On her own phone. I checked the metadata. It was dated 2 days after our anniversary. She made that video after I walked in on her and Carl. Like a souvenir. She never deleted it. Just buried it in a cloud sync folder from the backup plan I set up when she changed phones. Neither of us had touched that account in months. And now, it was mine. I didn't send it out right away. I let it sit. I went to a lawyer first. Told him everything. I left out names, made it all hypothetical, but laid out the facts. Joint lease, reputational damage, smear campaign, harassment, false claims of abuse. He leaned back in his chair and said, "If this video is real, you could countersell. Hard." Then he paused. "But if I were you, I'd sit on it. Wait until she thinks she's safe again. Then you decide, do you want justice? Or leverage?" I walked out with that line still ringing in my head. That night, Katie sent me an email. No threats. No lawyers. No venom. Just one sentence. I want to talk. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something else. I made 5 secure copies of the video, saved them to 5 different encrypted drives. One in my desk, one in a safety deposit box, one with a friend, one in the cloud, one mailed to myself, sealed and timestamped. Insurance. Then I went quiet again, because the game had changed. She thought she'd won, but I had the one thing she couldn't twist, delete, or explain away. Her own voice. And soon, she was going to find out I had it. The question wasn't if I'd use it. The question was when. I thought I was ahead. I had the video, the leverage, the power. But I underestimated her one last time. The letter came on a Thursday. From the court. A formal notice that Katie had filed for a restraining order, temporary, but active immediately. She claimed she feared for her safety, citing unpredictable digital behavior, retaliatory exposure threats, and escalating obsession. It worked. The judge granted it, at least until the hearing. I was banned from contacting her, coming near her workplace, her apartment, even messaging mutual friends. Any violation would count as criminal contempt. And the worst part? My employer found out. She sent them a copy of the restraining order. Claimed she was concerned for her own safety, but didn't want to jeopardize my employment. It sounded noble, reasonable, but it painted me as a threat. I got another call from HR. This time, it wasn't a warning. They were reviewing my continued status with the company. She did it. She got ahead of the video. Again, this wasn't just damage control. She was insulating herself. She built a shield of fear, one headline away from locking me in as the villain. Even the lawyer I'd seen earlier was hesitant now. Technically, you haven't violated anything, he said. But public perception is shifting. If you release that video now, it could look like blackmail. She flipped the story. Again. And I'll admit, there was a moment I thought about letting it go. Just walking away. Until I got a voicemail. From a blocked number. Her voice. Breathing hard, almost crying. You don't get to ruin me. Not when I already lived through worse. You think I'm the worst thing that's ever happened to you? You were just a test run. Click. End of message. She couldn't help herself. Even at her peak, even standing on top of everything she crushed, she still needed to twist the knife. That's when I made a call. To a friend of mine who worked freelance in digital forensics. I asked him to authenticate the video. Officially. With timestamps, cloud logs, device signatures, everything. He asked if it was going to court. I told him maybe. Because now, the video wasn't just leverage. It was evidence. And if I ever chose to move forward, it would be ironclad. But I didn't rush. I waited. And 1 week later, she found out. Not through court. Not through email. Through someone else. Someone I never expected to use. Her mother. Apparently, she saw the video. I'll never know who forwarded it. But Katie came to my apartment the next night. Crying. On her knees. And what she said next made everything stop. She stood in the hallway for a long time before knocking. Hair a mess. Eyes swollen. Shoulders shaking. I opened the door. She didn't even wait for an invitation. Just dropped straight to her knees on my front step. Tears already streaming. I know, she whispered. I know you have it. I saw it. My mom, she couldn't finish. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, watching the person who once mocked me with a smirk now folded in on herself like she was trying to disappear into the floor. I don't care what happens to me anymore, she said. Not the job. Not the apartment. Not even Carl. He left. Said I was poison. She looked up at me. But please, don't show anyone else that video. Don't take what little I have left. Please. Her voice cracked. It was stupid. I was stupid. You didn't deserve it. You were the only person who ever saw me as more than what I pretended to be. And I spat on that. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. My lawyer's dropping everything. No restraining order. No claims. I'll disappear, just like you wanted. She held it out, both hands trembling. Please. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just, don't burn me to ash. I took the envelope, but I didn't open it. She stayed kneeling. Not performing. Not manipulating. Just broken. The moment hung in the air like a held breath. I looked down at her, the same woman who once laughed in my face, who called me a waiting room, who slept with a janitor on the bed I paid for. And yet, right here, she was just human. Tired. Crushed. Hollow. I stepped aside. She didn't move. I'm not coming in, she said quietly. I know I don't deserve that. She stood, wiped her eyes with her sleeve, and walked away. Didn't look back. I never sent the video. Never showed the rest of the world what she really was. I kept it. Locked away. Not out of kindness. Out of peace. Because destroying her wouldn't fix me. It would just make me like her. So I let her carry what she did for the rest of her life. But I ask myself the same question every time I think about that night. When she was on her knees, begging me not to press the button that would end everything. What would you have done in my place?